Okay, so today I'm going to show you some of what I do with the food prep and some of the key things that I keep in mind when I'm doing food prep, which happens mostly about once a month, a big food prep. And then there are other things that are prepped along the way, but mostly once a month. So the key thing is to be prepared. So go to the grocery store, get everything that you need based on the inventory that was done. Yes. Then when you come home, ideally Laura would be helping out, and she's a great chopper and a great stirrer. So I usually put her to work at those things. But for today, I'm just going to do the demonstration myself. So some of the things that we need to remember: buy in bulk. So you might notice right here, for instance, that we've got chicken thighs, and so we would fill up the tray with chicken thighs. I prepare, always when I'm doing baking like this, I prepare with tin foil, and I put some organic olive oil on the bottom and some Himalayan salt. I always use that, and put that on the bottom, put the meat on top, and then a sprinkle of salt, and then just like this, and then into the oven. I might even actually, this time around, I might just sprinkle a little bit of rosemary on there just to keep the Italian flair. So then that will go into the oven, which is ready right now. I'll do that in a minute. Secondly, when I'm preparing, specifically this time around, I'm doing zucchini. Zucchini is very bland, and so there are vegetables that are very bland like that. We want to keep in mind the palate. So my mom always taught me that if you want to make something taste really good, then use onion and garlic and a little bit of salt. So in here, I've actually got a little bit of olive oil and a little bit of organic coconut oil, just a little bit of each. And then I've got a whole onion sliced up into nice little shreds there, and a clove of garlic with some salt. And that's going to just go in there. When that's kind of translucent there, and then I'm going to throw the vegetables in there. I'm going to just let them cook down just a little tiny bit, because Laura will finish the cooking on her end. So you might wonder, what are all these tomatoes? Well, they're in season, so they're showing up at the door. And what I like to do is, when I'm cooking for Laura, if there's something in season that we can get, like I have some chives that are really nice right now, I'll probably chop up some of those, and I'll just put them in with the vegetables once they're cooked. Since tomatoes are so delicate, I'll put them in fresh, and then when she opens up the packet after it's been frozen, it'll be nice. You'll be able to, just mix in with the vegetables. It'll be a nice little addition. So what I'm doing here today is kind of specific to specific vegetables and meats and whatnot, but everything that I'm doing can be generalized to anything that we're cooking. So cook in bulk, use olive oil, coconut oil, and Himalayan salt. Use onion and garlic to flavor. Use things that are in season. And try to cook things all at the same time to keep everything, keep the workload as short as possible. Hope that makes sense. Another thing to remember when prepping, of course, is that we wash everything beforehand just to make sure it's as clean as possible. Get all of those pesticides and herbicides, if there are any. These are organic, and that doesn't mean that there's nothing on them, because they do spray these with nicotine and things like that. So we want to wash them, make sure that we get all that stuff off. All right. Then when I'm doing steaming of vegetables, what I do is I have a pot with about an inch of water. I put a steamer thingy in the bottom, and then the vegetables go on top. Then the one vegetable, like I'll have broccoli on there, and then I'll put the other steamer thing on top of that, and then I'll put the other vegetables on top. So I can do 2 or even 3 different kinds of vegetables all at the same time in one pot. And this is the key to keeping the whole process concise, and we get it done fairly quickly. Of course, adding a little bit of salt, not a whole lot, but a little bit of salt, helps to bring out the flavor. So you want to cook with salt, as long as it's not regular table salt. Here's another thing that I do. Buy a lot of really nice, clean ground beef. And Laura has a hard time getting things like ground seeds that are really good for her, flax and hemp and that sort of thing in her diet. So I'll make her meatballs, and she loves meatballs. So I'll make the meatballs, put them into a little tin like this, and it goes, all of those will go into the oven. She would get 2 of these for a meal. So she's got several meals here. I'm just going to put these on here, and they're going to go into the oven, and they're going to bake for about 30 minutes. And this is really coming nice. See how oh, look at how nice and green they are. Oh, that just makes me happy. See, they're starting to cook, and I need to get my little poker fork. And I just cook these until they're just barely cooked. Green beans take so long to cook. That's why they're in the bottom. So I would put the items that need the longest cooking time, I put on the bottom, and the things that don't obviously go on the top. Okay, coming along. So once everything is cooked, these are the things that we need next. So we've got different strengths and sizes of bags for a portion, putting everything into portion bags. And then the portions go into a larger freezer bag. And then the freezer bag is labeled. And on the label, which I'll show you in a minute, I write what it is, the date, the number of portions in the bag, and then any instructions that are required for preparation. So the PSWs, when they are looking for instance, they're looking for meatballs, they go into the freezer, they find the bag that's marked meatballs, they take a portion out. If there's any instructions on there as to what they're supposed to do to prepare it, then they have the instructions right there. And it works really well. So they follow the meal plan, everything's labeled, everything's in portions, and everything is either fully cooked or partially cooked. As you can see, we've got a lot of things accomplished here today. And so the next step after doing all the bulk cooking is to get everything into portions so that it's ready for the PSWs to pull out of the freezer. So the first thing to remember when getting everything ready is that everything is in portion sizes. So the measuring cup becomes a very important tool. So all vegetables are measured 1 cup measures, and then they're put into the little portion bags. And then once, and you burp all the air out so that it doesn't get freezer burn. And then it goes into a larger bag with all of the other portions. And it also gets sealed with all of the air out. And then it gets labeled. So each bag is labeled with what is in it, how many portions are in the bag, the date that they were cooked, and then any other instructions. So one thing that I write on every bag is when the PSW should add this item to the grocery list. So in this case, it says, please add to grocery list when down to 3 portions. So they don't have to do much thinking about, when do I have to tell Linda or whoever's making the food that we need more of these things ready for Laura. So another thing that I'd like to point out is these are zucchini. And I mentioned before about putting in things that are in season. Of course, right now zucchini are in season. But these little cherry tomatoes are coming off Nono and Nona's garden, so out of their garden. So I've included one in each packet. I also have a bunch of chives out on the deck garden, and so I chopped up a bunch of chives and included those in these packets. So including anything that's available is also a good idea. Another thing to remember is when doing meat. So we did chicken today and we did meatballs. It's important to remember that a piece of meat should be about the size, a portion is about the size of the palm of your hand. So thickness and breadth of the palm of your hand. So, you can sort of judge by, what you've put into your packet, whether that's what a serving size is. So we always want to be aware of serving sizes so that Laura's not eating too little or too much. I think that's it. I mentioned before that my big tools are my Sharpie marker and my painter's tape. Make sure everything is well marked and counted correctly. And once all of this is done, these packages just go over to Laura's apartment and they go into her various freezers. So she's got one freezer for vegetables and she has another freezer for all of her protein, her meat and any other protein, hummus, things like that. I think that's it for today. Thank you very much for listening.